Hello, Flutie friends. Today we're going to talk about how to practice your C major and A minor scales effectively. A few ways that you can practice them, a couple of exercises that you can use to practice them, and just ways that I generally like to work on my major scales. So first of all, if you are in the beginning stages of working on your major scales, you can practice in one octave. So starting at C on the staff, like to add the arpeggio at the end, especially for the single octave. Okay, so then if you're a little bit more advanced, you can practice in two octaves. So we're starting at our low C below the staff, going up to the C just above the staff and back down. Beautiful. And then of course there is the third octave. If you are an advanced player, I would highly recommend going all the way up to the third octave. I have dogs, so I'm gonna choose not to record myself playing all the way up to that third altissimo C because they might pack up and leave home if I do. So moving right along, we have our A minor scale. Of course, you can practice your A minor scale in one octave. And this is the natural minor scale. So your A natural minor scale is the exact same key signature as your C major scale. We're just starting on A instead of C. So then we have the harmonic minor. I like to think of the harmonic minor as sounding just a little bit Aladdin-y, a little bit Middle Eastern. So we are raising the 7th scale degree. So instead of a G natural, we are playing a G sharp. And that's on the way up and back down. I'll play that one more time. Beautiful. Now keep in mind as you are playing these scales to keep your fingers close. Pay attention to your hand position. Make sure that you're not feeling anything uncomfortable or weird. Also watch yourself in the mirror. These are a really good opportunity to pay attention to what your fingers are doing, if they are flying above the keys, if your wrist is bending like this, or if we're doing anything wonky in our body. Scales are a really good opportunity to notice those. Now we have our final variation of our minor scale. So we have a melodic minor. Now the melodic minor, we're actually raising the 6th and the 7th scale degree on the way up. So we are playing F sharp and G sharp. But then on the way back down, we're coming back to our natural minor, right? So we are playing G natural, F natural. So all naturals. One more time. And again, you can always practice these in 2 octaves instead of 1, but if you're just learning them for the first time, it's good to start with 1 octave just to make sure that you really have that middle register, those fingerings down, and you know what it's supposed to sound like. So let's play our single octave major scales together one time. 3, 4. a harmonic minor. A melodic minor. Beautiful. Now, there are definitely ways that you can work on these scales and build other skills with these scales. So a couple of things that I like to do, for instance, is have my students learn to subdivide using their scales. So for instance, let's take our C major scale. We're going to play it 8th notes. Okay, so I like to do that so that they can hear a very even pulse. Ta, 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 right? We learned that 1 and 2 and 3 and then you can also do 16th notes. You can do triplets. Right? Also a great way to work on double tonguing. Okay, so these are all great ways. Scales are great ways to work on other skills because by the time you're working on these other skills, it's very likely that you already know your C major or your F major scale super well, right? You could do it in your sleep. You don't have to look at any sort of piece of paper in order to do it. You might want to have a nice scale sheet, available. By the way, Ali Hoffman makes an incredible scale book. If you're interested in an intermediate scale book, I use her book. I teach out of her book all the time. So 10 out of 10, highly recommend if you're looking for a really solid scale book. So other ways that you can practice scales would be scales in thirds. So, and that would be essentially jump. So let's take our C major scale. So we're jumping up to this third. So C, E, D, F, right? Right? Then we have neighbor tone scales. So neighbor tones are the notes above or immediately above or below. So okay, so again, we can practice our scales in many, many, many different variations in order to make them useful to our practice and what we need. So one of the other great exercises that I know from, being a more advanced flutist, if you are a more advanced flutist, some of my favorite exercises for scales would be the Reichert 7 daily exercises, number 1. And then of course the Taffanel and Gobert, number 4, is a really, really great scale exercise that both of those run you through both your major and minor scales. They require a little bit more finger dexterity and require a little bit more thought. So I highly recommend running through those. Again, the Reichert right here, and then of course Taffanel and Gobert right here. Of course, you can always go back to the classics. We have Trevor Wise scale book, which is fantastic. If you own the omnibus, you will have that in there, but you can also purchase that book separately. Those are great for intermediate and advanced players alike, and honestly, you will always be using that book. It does not matter how far you come or how long you've been playing, you will always be using Trevor Wise practice books for the flute. So highly recommend. And finally, take your time. Scale practice is a marathon, not a sprint. We want to learn these scales so that we can recognize them in our music and play them almost automatically, right? So playing scales and variations of scales will help build muscle memory so that you don't have to think as hard about what you're playing, right? And you can focus more on the music. So I highly recommend practicing your scales every day, or if you don't have the time to run all of your scales every day, that totally makes sense. Try a different scale every day. So today you might do C major and A minor. Tomorrow you might do F major. The day after you might do B flat, so on and so forth. So you can spend 5 or 10 minutes focusing on that scale, focusing on playing it slowly, then increasing the tempo, and playing it in different rhythms, different variations. You can work on staccato, or you can work on legato, right? You can work on different articulation variations. So there's so many ways that you can practice these scales to make them effective for you, depending on where you're at in your practice and what you need. So I highly recommend, once again, looking at these books here. This list right here will get you wherever you need to go. And of course, like and follow for more flute tips, more Wheel of Practice Sundays. And if you're looking for online or San Diego-based flute lessons, please feel free to click my link in bio to book a free consultation to chat with me about lessons.